Welcome to the Lawrence County Oral History Project. I'm your host, Norm Taylor, and thank you for joining us again. It's always good to be with you, and today I think you're going to enjoy our guests that we have today. You know, every time I have our Native American guests, I always get some good emails and phone calls, and they love hearing the stories that our friends and our guests have with us today, and I'm sure this is going to be the same way with this program. You know, in just a short period of time, in the third weekend of April, April 17th and 18th, the Lawrence County History Festival will be going on. This is our 9th year for that. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but our 9th year. And we're at Murray Park. We have the historical timeline for those of you, and I don't know, many of you have been to our event where we have encampments, demonstrations, battles, everything from pre-Revolutionary War all the way through World War II. And I might add that we have a huge World War II group coming out this year. We had a big World War II battle last year. We're going to have another big one again this year. You'll want to see that. And again, we'll have a Civil War skirmish, as we always do. And you know, you enjoy all the different kind of encampments and demonstrations that you normally get to see at the festival. Again, that's April 17th and 18th, the third weekend of April, and it's the timeline has got to be a big event. The History Festival has got to be a big event for a lot of people. People come in. Last year, drove in from St. Louis, Missouri, Chicago, Illinois, from Columbus, Ohio, from Tennessee, from Kentucky to attend our event, and we know that this year is not going to be any different. In fact, we're adding this year. One of the guests that I have has been with me ever since the very beginning of the History Festival, back when we started on the courthouse lawn in Bedford. And this guest that I have has been with me ever since. She's the president of the Indiana Indian Movement. And Marilyn, it's just good having you with us. My goodness, you're a veteran. You've been on the program more times than I have. You know, between you and Lee Hutchison, I never even heard. It's like I'm never here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've been on this, I think, about our third time, but it's always good having you. When I say that you're the president of the Indian, is that proper term, or are you the main elder, or what is your proper term?
Okay. At one time, I was state director, and I have gone down a little bit. I'm the treasurer now. I've given up the state directorship.
That's a lot of work with that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Treasurer's a lot of work too.
You know,
especially come tax time.
That's right. You know, we attended an event, and it was a lot of fun at IU with First Nations, and a lot of great people there, and a lot of young people. It's good to see the young people there with that. Yeah. So is Indiana Indian Movement involved with the First Nations up on the Bloomington campus?
Yeah, some of us are. I'm involved really, deeply with them and stuff. And I'm also involved with IU, First Nations Cultural Center.
Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful facility.
Yeah. I'm on the board there at IU. We're looking to get us a director. And they have been interviewing people, for that. So
you like working with those young people, don't you?
Oh yes, I love working.
Well, does that help keep you young?
I don't know if it keeps me young, but keeps me busy.
Well, that was a good bunch of people. We enjoyed that. Some of the food that was there that night was just fantastic, and there was a good variety of different kind of food. I know some of it was of Native American origin, but boy, some of it was great.
Yeah, we cooked it all. That was, that was, me and 3 other ladies, and Margie helped. And
as we have another guest with us today, Marjorie is with us today. Marjorie, it's good having you with us too. It's the first time for you being on the program.
Yes, it is.
Well, it's good having you today as well. And I think I remember, you were at that event too in Bloomington, right, Marjorie?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing you. Marilyn, you've been with us ever since our very first timeline event. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We was down on the courthouse lawn.
Yeah, we was down there on the square.
And you've been with us every single year since then, but this is the first year that we've actually are going to have a Pow Wow. Yeah, and so whenever
we've talked about it.
We've talked about it.
Yeah, we've talked about it, but
Well, back then, Marilyn, it seemed like when we first started our event years ago, you guys were having a powwow in Jackson County at that time. At
Yes,
Black
we
Swan
were.
Lake, right?
Yes.
So you guys are having one not too far, but this time we're going to have one in Lawrence County.
Yeah. And this is the first one I know of that has been in Lawrence County.
Right. So our people here that are going to come out, this is history for them in the making. This is the first time that actually we've ever had a powwow in Lawrence County. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now people are going, well, what's a powwow? Some people have never been to one. What can they expect if they come to a powwow?
Okay, there's traditional things that we do. We have an MC that tells you what all's going on. There's times when the public can come in and dance. He will let you know, our MC will let you know when this event. We have a grand entry, and that is where everybody goes into the circle, to dance. And at that time, and after that, we have a veterans.
You honor the veterans.
Yeah, we honor the veterans.
So we would like to have all the veterans that are watching this program, and all you veterans that have been on my programs the last 3 years, we'd love to have you guys out. Our World War II veterans, our Korean, our Vietnam veterans, all you veterans, we'd love to have Desert Storm. It wouldn't matter. We'd like to have them out for that, wouldn't we?
Yes, we would.
And that's going to be at noon on Saturday.
That starts at noon.
Noonish, yeah. Noonish.
Noonish.
We
run on Indian time.
I've learned a lot of being around Marilyn over these past few years, and of being with the Lakota out of Pine Ridge, that there's a different, when we say noon, I guess the European style is, noon means 12, right there. It starts at noon. But with some of you folks, I found out that, it's right around there.
Yeah, we live in a slower pace thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
We don't look at our watches. We don't hardly ever wear watches. We don't go by time. When everybody gets there and everybody gets ready, and the arena director says, it's ready, let's go.
I'm finding that out. Now, Marilyn and I, we've worked together for a lot of years, and we've worked well together, but I've found that this is the case, so I'm making adjustments to it. Yeah, I'm a person in training, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But, so at around noon, we'll have the grand entry, and that is something I'm looking forward to seeing. I've never seen that myself.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, after grand entry, with grand entry, we bring in the flags. We have a head veteran dancer, and that means he has served in the service, and he will, he carries in one of the flags, and then he'll have other flags that will be carried in by veterans. And after they go around the circle, then of course they have a prayer, and then they have a veterans dance. And that's when they invite all veterans to come in and dance.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of times you'll see women standing around the outside of the circle, and they'll be holding up feathers, and that's to honor our men.
Yes. Again, I'm learning, but I know that that this isn't, and this is something that I want to bring out. It's not just a show. It means something. The dance moves, they mean something. I've learned, again, a lot of listening, like in colors. Whenever I've been out with Lakota, how black means, and I couldn't understand this first, but for Lakota, cleansing, because of the black represents them, the thunder coming in, the lightning, the rain, which cleanses. Green, of course, for the grass, and I know there's a grass dance. And, the yellow, which represents, like the beginning of a new day. And I'm learning the colors of some, and I know it's different for every tribe. But I know that, like, the colors represent something, If paint is used, that represents something. The moves, every move it makes, if it's an eagle dance or if it's a buffalo dance, whatever, there's a lot of symbolism involved with this.
Yes, and the 4 directions is always used too, you know.
With the
All this has special meaning to our people.
with I know with the Lakota again, is it with the Cherokee that the number 4 is important?
It is with the Cherokee, 4 and 7.
Because I know like with the four directions, east, west, north, south, the 4 seasons, the 4 phases of the moon. There are reasons I know of 4. Why would 7 be important?
7 is really important to the Cherokee people because the 7 sides that we have in our things, and it's also important because of different things we do in ceremonies and stuff.
And also there's a spiritual component.
Yes.
And there would be some things that wouldn't be, just not everybody could be involved in because, again, of the spiritual component. Can you tell a little bit about that? Is there certain dances? Is there certain times?
There's certain dances and stuff that, the public, would not be invited to dance. But usually a powwow is if it's a gathering, if it was the thing for our tribe, then there would be more things that the public couldn't be invited into. But this is more to invite the public to know our culture.
It's to educate.
Yeah, educate, yeah.
Yes.
And we have dances for the children that we'll invite children out to dance in. And then if one of our children has never danced in the circle before, an elder takes them in and dances them in the first time. So that's important. So there will be, there will be people dancing in children for the first time out there.
There will be times, I guess, like that photography would be allowed, but certain times that it would not be allowed.
Yeah, and the MC will tell you.
Okay.
The MC will tell you, there's times you have to remove your hats, head coverings, and stuff like this. The MC will tell you at that time and that there is no pictures allowed at this time and stuff. That's what your MC does,
When we talk about, and who is going to provide the drum?
Okay, we have a group of young men, and they're called the People's Voices, and they're going to be our drum. Okay. You met a couple of them that were drumming at the Cultural Center.
Right, I sure did.
Yeah.
And nice people. And so they'll be coming, they up in the northern part of the state.
Yeah.
Are they from different tribes?
Yes, they are.
Marilyn, and I've already been asked this, actually several times, but kind of give me an idea of how many tribes you think of people from how many different kind of tribes would be there?
Oh, heavens, Margie, what would you say? There's going to be a bunch of us.
Well, I would probably say, process of elimination, maybe 50.
50 different tribes?
Yeah, out of 500.
Yeah. That's amazing, though.
Yeah.
50 different tribes. And what would be some of the tribes? Because some people will not know. Well, what would be some of the tribes you think people that from their heritage would be?
Primarily in this area, it's become, there's quite a number of Native people in this area. Ojibways, Potawatomis, Cherokees, Creeks, Miamis. Let's see.
There's
Lakota, Navajo. Yeah, there's lots of Navajos at the college, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just many others. Apache. I could just go on. That's not even
Iroquois.
Yeah, it's not even a bite out of the apple. Very good.
About 50 different tribes, and so people will get an opportunity. This will be an education experience for them, won't it?
Yes,
Yes.
it will.
You know, because again, Marilyn and I have talked some about this over the years, but again, when I say I'm learning, I am truly learning, and more, it has helped me to be out at the Pine Ridge, Lakota, in South Dakota, and actually get to live with them for a while, because that's when I've had the opportunity to really to learn and to work with them every single day and to understand. But and some of the things that I've always taken for granted that I thought I knew something about was false. And the things that I've learned in my lifetime, actually, again, I am in a learning experience, and here I am. I'm 32 years old, and well, okay, I hear some laughter from okay, actually, I'm a little over 32, but I'm in the process of learning. But you said something, Marilyn, that we've got a school day coming in, and we'll have 600 fifth graders coming in, and boy, they bring some energy to the place. I mean, they really do. But you grow up and you've got this image of smoke signals, for example. And you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And where the Native American would take out their blanket and would put it on the fire, and
It
you know why I've always had that image in my mind for years, but that's not true.
No, that's not true.
Well,
The
because
blanket would burn.
I mean, that's true. I mean, now I feel stupid but you know what? There's a lot of other people have that incident that the blanket would be put on the fire, and that's how they created smoke. But I think they're not going to put the blanket on the fire. The blanket would burn. But where in the world did we ever get that?
I think Hollywood portrayed a lot of that,
That's true. Because out on the Pine Ridge, and I grew up loving Westerns like so many of my generation did. But I remember one gentleman out on the Pine Ridge, he said, I never understood why those old Westerns, why the Indians wore towels.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I thought, yeah, why did they wear those towels? But yeah, Hollywood had a lot to do with forming what we believe about the Native American culture.
Yes, it did.
And we're trying to say what Hollywood's depicting is not really necessarily the way it was.
Yeah, and most of the books that are written about Native people are written by white people who lived there.
Yeah.
And that's what they perceive us to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they can't truly understand us unless you're raised in that.
Right.
Don't you think, Margie?
Yes, most definitely.
Marjorie, and and what tribe are you from?
I'm from Ojibwe, and I was born up in northern Ontario.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit, because there's going to be a lot of people that have no idea when you're talking about the tribe. Give us a little bit of background.
It's a huge nation, both in Canada and United States. Mm-hmm. There's a spackling of us here. It's...
And are you associated with the Potawatomi? Are you in some way?
In our oral history, back when they had first put the Ojibwe on the reserves in Canada, they don't call them reservations, they call them reserves. And when they first put them there, they said, well, you have to cut your hair and quit speaking your language, and you can't do your ceremonies anymore. And so they changed that way that the people had always lived. So they were doing the same in the United States, and the Potawatomi came north. They fought in wars up there, and they came north, and they were, I guess you could say, kind of displaced or wandering because they didn't want anything to do with what the American government was doing to them. They came to the Ojibwe, and we were always a friendly nation, except with the Lakota. But they came, and they.
How come Lakota? I mean, necessarily. I know the Crow didn't like the Lakota.
Well,
in fact, when they called them Sioux, I know that meant like snake. It was I don't like using the term Sioux, by the way, actually, and that's from again been working with the Lakota, but with the warring, I mean, I know tribes came in and took the horses and all that, but how come they didn't like the Lakota?
Territory wars, hunting ground wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, you know.
Yeah. Well, do they like the Lakota today?
I think so. Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. It's still, you know, there's still.
There's still something there?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
still something.
Okay, but you guys will get along at the History Festival in Pow Wow, won't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's.
But,
We had, the Potawatomi came to live with the Ojibwe. And out of that union so many years ago, I had a great-great-grandfather. And back in the day, those Native people only had one name, one name, not like 2 or 3 names like we have today. Myself, I have 4 names.
what's your names?
Marjorie, no.
I know your name, Marjorie. But what's your Native American name?
Well, I don't have one.
Oh, okay.
And the reason for that being is that I wasn't raised. That's another part of history that happened. You know, we know that a lot of the Native children were taken away from their families. And when they were taken away, they weren't allowed to have their own spirituality and their own upbringing where they would receive a name from their family, from their grandmother.
Yeah.
So a lot of Native people of my age, younger even, because I understand that it still goes on in the United States, where they take the Indian children away and put them in boarding schools. And it's a sad part of history, but, you know, it's part of who we are.
Yeah.
And
you know, Marjorie, this is again, and again I go back to I'm learning. But actually getting to live out at Pine Ridge, getting to visit our folks down in Tahlequah in Oklahoma, Cherokee, which I got the opportunity. This stuff is still going on.
yes, it is.
Yeah, yes, it is.
I mean, and it saddens me to think this is still going on. And you know, I think I was hoping, and I think that in the 1960s, when the Civil Rights Act occurred, that I know things have changed some, but there's still racism in our
Who was
in our
that
country.
for, the civil rights?
Well, you know,
Who were the leading people in that?
it was
it was
for
black people.
Yes, it was. But I was hoping that there would have been some carryover with our Native American. But I was there?
No.
And you know, it makes I've read, and it bothers me, you know, when I read that how the young people were taken away from their parents, were taken away, and I know that in the Native American culture, the family and extended family is what is the term for extended family? Teospe or something like
Teospe.
that? Teospe.
And that's Lakota.
Teospe.
That's
yeah,
Lakota.
for Lakota. Yeah.
That's the family.
Teospe.
But extended family is everything to our people.
Yes. And they took that
Margie's
away.
my extended family.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is why that I know on the reservation is that you would have sometimes 17 people living in a 2-room house because, again, it means so much to them of having their family with them.
Yes.
Do you feel that same way, Marjorie?
Yes, I do. But due to circumstances, I've become an urban Indian.
Okay.
I was raised off the reserve, and culturally, it's a world apart, and we do what we can now to remain Indian.
Do you? So you've embraced both cultures.
Yes.
To survive, you had to embrace the white culture.
Yeah.
But again, your heritage and everything within you screams to maintain your own culture.
And we fight every day, don't we, Margie, to embrace our own culture.
Every day.
Every day.
And that's why I'm glad we're having a Pow Wow this year. I mean, I'm glad this finally came about. Because, again, this is only a small step, but to me, it's an important step for our area. That we can start learning and bridging gaps and all that. Do you feel that way, Marilyn?
Yes, and this is really good for our people too. It brings our people together. This is a time we can visit with each other. This is a time we can trade with each other. This is a time our kids can meet other Native children.
So it's important. It's like a reunion in some ways, then for you. Marjorie, I want to get back to again. You were educated then off the reserve then.
Yes, in regular public school.
And how was your public school experience for you?
You want to know the truth?
I want to know the truth. Yes, I want to know the truth.
There was 2 Indian kids in an all non-native school. There were no other people of color at all at this school that I went to. And so, as children can be
Cruel.
Yes.
well, yeah, it's cruel, but now that I'm an adult, I see that a little differently. I see that, yes, we can choose to say cruel, but that's an attachment, and I don't want to keep that attachment. It's not mine. They were misinformed.
That's good.
They were very misinformed. Again, they had that Hollywood image.
Yes.
Even back in the 50s.
Yes.
When I was young. Really young.
So you felt the racism or directed toward when you were in elementary, when you were in public schools?
Yeah. And in northern Canada, most they were. I don't know. My family loved me, but not all the white people love you. And where I'm from, up there, during those years in the 50s and 60s, there wasn't people of color. There wasn't any black people. There wasn't any of the many nations that are in America. So the only time I probably never seen a black person till I was 7. And I had no idea that there was, because they didn't teach about the different nationalities in school then. We're still in See Jane Run.
I know, and I've read some Cherokee history. I know, like in the Trail of Tears and beforehand. But there was times it seemed to me like blacks, even which had very little as far as they were slaves, but they seemed like more rights than the Native Americans at one time in some cultures. Wouldn't that be true, Marilyn? I mean,
yes,
and it was. So there was a lot. So you were not able to maintain, other than maybe contact with your family, then your roots in your tribal nation. Then
I never found my mother again. I went to see her when I was 18, and for whatever reasons, I didn't go back. And then when I was 38, 40 something, maybe it was a little later, 42, I found my mother again. But it was right at the time before she was going to pass away. Mm-hmm. And she knew that I was her youngest daughter, whom the government had taken away.
And about what year would this have been?
Let's see.
I do know
back in the 80s.
Okay.
I think she passed away in 84.
You would have been taken, though, in about what year?
When I was infant, yeah.
And I know under the Eisenhower administration, they tried this relocation, moving Native Americans into like to Cleveland or St. Louis or Los Angeles, in different places. Trying this, and it's been done over all these years. So you had brothers and sisters?
Yes, I did.
But you didn't get to grow up around them?
No. No, I really actually never had any contact with my family. When I turned 18, the Children's Aid Society, which is much the same as the Human Services in the United States, they gave me a written history of my life to that point. And in that, they mentioned who my mother was. And then it became a quest for me to find out who this woman was. But there's a lot of water under that bridge.
Yeah. And so it was difficult finding. Obviously, I know I've talking to Marilyn over these years. It was just like there was this time period in which it's blank. It's hard to find relatives,
and culturally it was blank. Culturally it was blank, and that is the greatest travesty of all. Because children learn. They're brought into the different ceremonies in their life. When they come to be a young woman, young men, the different things that they would learn from their aunts and their uncles and their grandmothers. Yeah. There are still many reservations where they're learning, but again, the old people are dying off, and some of them just carry the stories. It's just happened that way in the history of Native people. They didn't write the stories down.
Right.
It was an oral story. If it didn't get passed on or memorized, it was lost.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that it's entirely lost. Through spirituality, we've gained back a good deal.
Yeah.
And and all Native tribes their spiritualities are all different. Mm-hmm. But it's all going to the same Creator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that, again, going back to, like the song, like some of these songs have been passed down. I know that part of the oral history. So the songs have a significance because they're telling a story of a history. But it's just like anything in life. The stories tend to, I know that the stories my grandfathers told me or my father told me, and my father's been gone now for several years, it becomes hazy if I don't have it written down for me. The stories become kind of intertwined, and the dates, and the time, it becomes hazy. How does that, Marilyn, how does that happen that, whenever the oral history, which is, this program's called Oral History Project, but actually recording it where 100 years from now, people will be able to hear what we're, saying. But if it's just passed down, the stories from so many years, when they get intermingled with other stories, can it become hazy?
I guess it could, but, for Native people, I think, when we have a story that's passed to us, we're constantly telling that story that has passed to us. So it keeps it fresh in our mind. We're telling it to our grandchildren. We're telling it to our people. So I mean, that helps keep it fresh in our mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then our grandkids pick it up, our kids pick it up. They're constantly telling it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you're constantly hearing these things.
Are the grandchildren of today, are the youth of today as interested of hearing the stories and maintaining this as your generation?
I wouldn't say so.
No. I wouldn't
No,
say so.
So there's a danger it could be lost.
Yeah.
The wish of the great white fathers who designed all this separation to have the Indian people merge into society is very, they're getting their wish, where they separated the families so they wouldn't be what they were supposed to be. They would mold to what they wanted them to be. We're a technological society, and now I know most Indian kids, even out on Pine Ridge or Rosebud, they've got all the little gadgets that,
Yeah. The cell phones,
even yeah,
P3 and the iPods and all
Yes.
that. Yeah,
Yes.
they do have. Yeah.
and those are tools that could be used to benefit them. I know of one particular Indian man, and he sings native songs at ceremonies, and he's got one of those little flat MP3 players, and he's always got it in his ear. Wherever you see him, he's got it in his ear, and he's always learning new songs from different nations, sacred songs, prayers, and but he's like the exception to the rule. Young children have too much TV, too much
of.
So, but they're not just listening. Now they've had the opportunity, as grandparents, you've had the opportunity, though, to tell the stories to your grandchildren, where some of you folks didn't have the opportunity.
Yes, I tell stories to my grandchildren and stuff, but whether my grandchildren will even remember the stories, that bothers me, They live in today's society. They're more worried about TV and the game system. I think that game thing is the worst thing they ever made. They're too much interested in what's going on around them other than deep within them. And I think it's causing them problems too, As having a teenage grandson, I can see where he's having more problems because he's not grounded in our spirituality and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do to ground him in that. He'll have to do it himself. So, I worry about those things.
I guess you're hoping that someday, then, though, that there will be a return.
Yes. It seems like as we get older, we search more for, our spirituality.
Yeah. I think that like I say that the more I'm reading, the more I'm learning. And this is going to be a term that probably a lot of people won't like to hear, but I'm tending to believe more this way. It was almost like it was genocide.
Yes, it was.
And still is.
Still is.
And it still is.
Yeah.
And I know that's an inflammatory term I'm using when I say genocide, but history is backing this up. And when you look at what happened, folks, it angers me and it hurts me to know that this is happening. There's not a thing I can do about the past. It's gone. But there's sure something I can do about the present, and that's why, I mean, having Marilyn as a friend over all these years, and hopefully as a new friend here. But I mean, I'm learning, and again, I'm learning and getting to know my Lakota friends that I've kept in contact with now. So I'm learning. Like I say, there's nothing I can do about the past, but there's sure something to do about the present.
Yeah, and the History Fest, that's one of the reasons I have always been so involved in the History Fest. It gives me the opportunity to do some educational. It gives me some, to try to show people that we're not like Hollywood. That was Hollywood. That's not true. And things like that. It helps me share my culture with other people.
I've been reading where No White Man Wants to Tread, or something like that. The book is Russell Means. He was one of the founders of the American Indian Movement, and which was back in the 1970s, Wounded Knee 2, 1974, and so forth. He called the reservations America's concentration camps. Is that too harsh? So you would agree with Russell Means?
Pardon me. If you've been to South Dakota, if you've been to Pine Ridge is second in the nation for poverty, alcoholism, being, to quote a phrase, dirt poor.
It is.
The
I've seen
Navajo
poverty
Nation,
like I've never seen.
the Navajo Nation is leading in that. The Southwest nations out there. I think there's more than just one, but and then some of the young people, though, and this is the part that Marilyn's involved with. Some of the young people, a lot of the young people now that are coming from the res, and they left because they didn't want to live like that. They didn't want to be poor. They didn't want to be whatever connotation that the reservations held for them. They go out into the world and, well, maybe I should get an education. And with that education, they're coming back and they're making changes. They're very slow, painful changes, like it's 2 steps forward and 4 steps backward.
Yes.
So, but as long as we have our people willing to learn, I know of a lot of people who were raised not on the reserve, like as myself, who are returning there. They don't want to be poor, but they don't want to live in the society.
Well, I can understand more. People will always say, well, why don't they just move? I've heard that I don't know how many times, because whenever they find out, when I go out to the reservation, how come they just don't move? It's not as simple as that. I mean, it isn't as black and white as that. I understand more, again, the importance of family ties, of you being with your family. And again, that is so strong.
And it's beliefs too. It's it's our beliefs. It's a way of life. It's ceremonies. It's different things. Native people seem to migrate towards Native people. Whether they're maybe a Navajo comes here, okay, that Navajo is away from his family and stuff. He seeks out other Native people.
Yeah. And
It may not believe exactly like the Navajos or, and stuff and everything, but they still have something that, that they're seeking.
yeah. I have found that whenever I'm out at Pine Ridge, like I say, the reservation it's eye-opening when you're there, and see the poverty. But yet the people, there is a heavy spirituality there. They are very open. At least my experience has been to us, and have been willing to teach us and to help us to learn. But you want to do what you can to help. But we're trying to build bridges, aren't we?
Yeah. Native people seem to have a very unusual sense of humor.
Oh my goodness.
I humor is, we have to have that humor to live.
I found that,
in this
but
world.
it's so dry humor that I don't know sometimes when they're kidding.
Well, that's...
Or when it's, I found that out there. I had, when I was out there working, and we helped make bunk beds and we're helping build housing out there, but I cut my finger bad there once, and they took me to, help get it patched up. And the man that took me said, "Well, you can't sue me over this." And I said, "Oh, well, I wouldn't want to sue you over this." He said, "Well, you couldn't if you wanted to." I said, "Well, sir, I wouldn't want to sue you over this anyway." He said, "Well, yes, but you couldn't do that anyway." And well, this kept going on and on. And I said, "Well, I have no intention of suing you, sir." He said, "Well, you can't sue me." So I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, you know why?" I said, "Well, no." He said, "Because I'm already sued." Again, but see, and I was careful because I don't want to offend people. And again, when we were approaching where we were staying once, the bus driver, in fact, his great grandfather was a Chief Red Cloud, and they hold with great honor Red Cloud, obviously on the Pine Ridge, and Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. But he said, "You see that red building over there?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "There are crazy white people there." And I said, "Hey, that's where I'm staying." He said, "I know." So you do learn, but I'm more careful than. But there is that survival. They've learned to survive, and humor has been a part of just in their survival.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm learning.
I'd like to share one little thing with you. Just talking about spirituality. I follow Lakota traditional spirituality. I'm learning. I'm just an infant in this learning. These people had this spirituality way before I came to it. And I attend a Sundance at Salt Creek. And I just came this morning from Evansville. One of our oldest Sundancers passed away last Wednesday, and he survived by a fairly large family, but they, his wife, and we went down there and we sang and drummed at the funeral, and then we went to the gravesite and we sang and drummed some more prayer songs. They weren't just singing to be singing, they were prayers.
Yes.
And we sent that spirit over. And then afterwards, when we were done, we went to the sweat lodge and we closed it and sent his spirit home. And I am deep. This is how my life has come to be, for that. for that huge gap in my childhood and even into my teenage years where there was no spirituality. Not of my own anyways. And Lakota is not my own, but it is now because I understand more that there's many roads that lead to the center. The center is God, Creator, Tankashla, all the names that he's known by. It's all, whatever road you travel to get there.
Whenever I visit there, I do see a place where near a beautiful valley where they have a Sundance there on the Pine Ridge. And this valley is, and again, it is such a learning experience every time I go, but it is, they say, the most beautiful valley there. And they say the reason because they believe that Crazy Horse, when he was killed and he was taken back from his parents back to the Pine Ridge area, they believe he is buried there. And that's why it is so beautiful there. It's kind of neat. It's neat hearing the stories. I'm glad today that you're with us and you're able to tell some of these stories. And you'll be at the Pow Wow.
I will.
So people now, they're going to recognize some of you, and you don't mind them coming up and introducing themselves?
No, I don't.
And talking to you. You know, again, like tonight, as of this taping, I'm going to be eating supper again, and I've eaten supper now at Marilyn's several times, and I'm having homemade chicken noodle soup tonight.
I think we're going to have more like chicken chowder.
Whatever it is.
Whatever I throw in the pot.
Whatever's in the pot, I'll eat it. But I've eaten now, had supper at your house several times, and you've always been very open. I feel like we have a great group of people that is there that we've worked with now over several years at the History Festival. And I'm glad to know, and many of the Pow Wow side of it too at this time. Marjorie, you have some beautiful jewelry, and I'm going to hold, if you don't mind, I'll hold up something that you would like to show. But Marjorie made some of this jewelry. I want to show you some of this beautiful work that she has made. And Marjorie, look here at these earrings. And is that okay? Can we get that all right? We're fine with that. So Marjorie, beautiful. And those took, how long did those earrings that you just held up, how long did that take to make, Marjorie?
4 days.
Wow, 4 days. They're beautiful.
And the reason I make these really long, most people will say, oh, those are too long for me, but this powwow that's coming up, when you see the dancers, they will have, people have a common misnomer, they say costume, but it's not costume, it's called regalia.
Yes.
And so a lot of times when I make the really nice long earrings, that becomes part of those dancers' regalia.
Now they won't be able to see this probably on the table here, so can we have, like here on the end, can we hold them up there so people can see those? Look at those. Beautiful. Yes. And these are just beautiful. And people will be able to purchase these at the Pow Wow.
Yes, they will.
Oh my goodness! Now my wife, what am I going to do? She's going to be over there. I'll go in debt. I'll be
keep working.
Keep working. Okay, I guess so. Because when people see some of this beautiful jewelry, my goodness, there's another one. Let's hold something else up. I want some people to be able to see some of this beautiful work of yours. And that, yeah.
Margie will also be doing some demonstrations at the Pow Wow. Jewelry demonstrations and stuff.
We went through Dwayne Martin, which will be going back with me to Pine Ridge. We went through a ceremony and the blessing of the jewelry we purchased there. My goodness, it's beautiful. Yes. And again, how long would something like that necklace, how long would that take to make, Marjorie?
Maybe not as long as the earrings. Okay. My eyes are not what they used to be. So.
Oh, it's a beautiful work.
Most Indian girls that I know, they would all, and guys too. Wintertime's the time for beadwork. You know, you're stuck inside, and and you pray for some light to come through the window, and you bead some of the finest pieces. Although, just being a small craftsperson, beader, I make contemporary style jewelry for business women and going out in the town. I use a lot of gemstones, freshwater pearls, Austrian crystals.
And the color schemes or anything, does that mean anything to you at times whenever you put something together?
Whatever pleases my eye.
Okay.
There are, and some would say, these are good peyote colors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's beautiful. I like that one very well. Can we see that okay? Is that here, folks? All right, we're good. Oh, it's beautiful. Well, we're going to have some great jewelry. I know that's going to be there, and well, my wife will be. I'm going to try to keep her working on the timeline side of this so she don't get over there and put me in debt. No, she'll get over there, folks.
No, she
knows. You know my wife, so she'll be over there with this. Yeah. Marjorie, I'm looking forward to working with you and you folks with the Pow Wow. And again, I know I'm going to earn some more friends through this experience, and we'll be having supper together on that Saturday evening, all of us together. So I'm looking forward to the Lawrence County History Festival and the Pow Wow. Be the first time that we've worked together in something like this. I hope it's not the last. I hope this is an annual tradition. But Marilyn, what else? You want to say anything before we end?
Our head man dancer is Gene Newman. He lives in the northern part of the state. He's also a sun dancer. Oh. Our master of ceremonies, or our MC, his name is Leroy Meltier, and Leroy's done a lot of powwows and stuff. He's danced as head veteran dancer. He can dance that way. He can dance as head man dancer. He's an MC. He's been an arena director. I don't think there's nothing that Leroy hasn't done. And Leroy he's been a great help to me in putting this powwow together. Our head female dancer is Marcia Burris. And she has been of great help to me, too. Yeah, they're nice people.
I think that this is going to be a real great experience for our county. Mm-hmm. Now, let me say that whenever I put on an event, at the History Festival, it seemed like that I bring rain. Now, hopefully, you guys will help balance this out because, I love rain, but I'd like to have a little bit of dry.
Maybe we'll make you stay home that day.
Nature's going to do what nature's going to do.
That's right. Nothing we can do about that.
But we've got a lot of people praying for dry weather.
It would be nice to have a dry history festival and powwow. But a lot of times at least I'll get a good day. If we have a good day, I hope it's Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I might like to add one thing. Marilyn said in the beginning about the cameras, when you're not allowed to take pictures. But then again, some people, it would be polite of the public to ask a native person to take their picture. If they decline, don't get mad. Just find somebody else.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's about respect, and we must respect other people's wishes.
Yeah, and I understand, again, that I do know that from talking to other Native American folks, at times they'll come and they'll touch their braids, I think, well, now we wouldn't go up to just somebody and that we don't know and then just, touch it. If you know people, you can hug them, but we wouldn't do that. But yet, that's part of respect. And,
yes.
Part of being sensitive to another person, honoring their...
Yeah. And if you want to touch something that they're wearing, it would be very polite to ask because it is rude to just go up and oh, I like that necklace you're wearing and handling it.
And you're going to have, of course, at school day, you're going to have 600 children. I know
Yeah.
that but they're children.
Yeah, they're children.
Yeah.
You know, you can.
And I can.
You can look over children, but adults.
I've been to a lot of kids' days, and I haven't had the problem with the children that I have had with the adults, you know, coming up. Oh, I love your hair.
Well, you know, believe it or not, that, you know, of course, and I do Civil War reenacting, but, you know, I have long hair, and people come up and go, is this real? I said, well, yeah, it's
Ouch.
real. Yeah, they'll yank on my hair. It's real. Folks, I want to thank you for being on the program today. As always, I know I'm going to get phone calls saying, "Oh, wow, you know, we were," because they always enjoy having you folks on here, and I'm looking forward to the third weekend in April with the Pow Wow and the History Festival. It's always a great weekend anyway. But Marilyn, thanks again for being with us. And this again the third time, but I'm sure we'll have some more. And Marjorie, it's good meeting you and having you with us today as well.
I'd like to add that what I spoke of today about my history, each Native person has a different history, and don't feel sorry for me.
Oh,
Do something to make change for our people.
This is something
all the nations.
I've learned out with Lakota. You know, they don't seek your pity. They just want to work with, and I agree with that, and thank you for that. And you make some beautiful jewelry. Thank you for bringing that on the set today.
Thank you.
Well, listen, this has been the Lawrence County Oral History Project, and again, the third weekend of April. On that Saturday at noon for the grand entry. Can you film that part, the grand entry?
That will probably be up to the MC.
Okay.
You know, he'll tell you.
He'll direct you on that. But, you know, on the third weekend in April around noon, with the grand entry starting the Pow Wow, actually the camps for the History Festival will be open at 10. Boy, we're going to have a great World War II battle there. John Dillinger gang is going to be there this year. And the Pow Wow is going to be going on. My goodness, we're going to like going on again that third weekend of April, and we want you to come out for it. You're going to get to meet these two fine ladies. Come up and introduce yourself to me, and I'll introduce you to a lot of great people as well. This has been the Lawrence County Oral History Project. I'm your host, Norm Taylor. Thank you for joining us. We'll be seeing you soon.